The interstellar liner Elysium didn't look like a ship. It looked like a world that had somehow learned to fly. 9 kilometers of hull, 3 rotating habitat rings wrapped in gardens, lakes, theaters, artificial skies. Passengers watched the stars through diamond composite windows and felt neither cold nor the void pressing just centimeters away. Real cedar trees grew on the upper decks. A waterfall roared in the central atrium. The lounges served drinks from 12 human colonies and 7 alien worlds. And deep beneath the gilded decks, behind armored doors and triple security fields, slept 32,000 souls in stasis, the last survivors of 41 civilizations wiped out when a supernova tore through the Kailas sector. Diplomats, scientists, children, people with nowhere left to go. Elysium was carrying them to New Harmony, a neutral haven humanity had built for exactly this, for everyone the galaxy had run out of room for. It was supposed to be a quiet crossing. Then the stars outside the viewports twitched. Captain Elena Vernyhora was on the bridge when space itself bent like black glass under a hammer. A low groan rolled through the hull, not a sound, but a tremor in reality itself. "Anti-gravity field failure," the navigator shouted. "Phase rings 3, 7, and 12, ruptured, mass reversion in progress." Elysium was too large to fly by conventional means. Its drive didn't push the hull through space. It convinced the universe the ship weighed a fraction of what it actually did. That agreement had just ended. 9 kilometers of metal, water, gardens, and living beings suddenly remembered exactly how much they weighed. The deck lurched, screens cracked, lights failed, and for one long second the bridge went dark before the emergency lighting kicked in. Red, bleeding across every wall like a wound. Chief Engineer Raul Mendoza stared at the readouts, his face going grim. "The gravity core's damaged," he said. "To stabilize it, we need a superconducting crystal, ultra-pure iridium, and heavy rare earths. And our spare was in the container that melted with Ring 7. On the tactical display, an unknown star system turned slowly. A yellow star. 5 planets. One of them blue-green, almost Earth-like. "Can we reach it?" Elena asked. 6 hours on maneuvering thrusters, but without anti-grav, we can't leave the system again. Then we find the materials down there. Raul shook his head. The odds of natural ultra-pure iridium are close to 0. And unnatural. The magnified image sharpened. On the planet's night side, something was glowing. Perfectly regular lines, concentric circles the size of continents. Structures too precise to be geology. "There was a civilization there," Raul said quietly. Elena kept watching. "Then maybe they left us what we need." The shuttle Kasatka undocked 7 hours later, carrying 6 souls. Captain Vernyhora, Engineer Mendoza, Xenoarchaeologist Dr. Mei Lin, Pilot Amina Nadauer, Security Specialist Thomas Koval, and the ship's synthetic Orpheus, a tall figure of dark ceramic skin, whose silver eyes and too precise movements were the only things that gave him away as a machine. The clouds broke, and the crew finally saw it. Endless forests, dark seas. A dead city sprawled across the plain below. So vast the crew had first mistaken it for a mountain range. Towers kilometers tall, bridges hanging half-collapsed between them, some still held aloft by fields that had somehow kept working for millennia. 3 black pyramids stood at the city's heart, each cut by vertical seams of gold light. Behind them rose 7 rings, stargates. The smallest was 2 kilometers across. The largest brushed the upper atmosphere. "That's not a city," Mei Lin whispered. "That's an empire's capital." Hundreds of starships lay scattered among the trees, wrecked, buried. One larger than Elysium lying on its side with an entire forest grown across its hull like a coat. No signals, no movement, just wind combing dust through the ruins. The moment the shuttle's landing struts touched the black stone platform, light exploded across the entire city. Golden circuitry raced along walls, bridges, towers, gates. Somewhere far underground, something enormous woke up. "We just triggered something," Thomas said. "Obviously," said May. That wasn't a compliment. They walked up steps that hadn't held a footprint in 100,000 years. At the temple entrance, Orpheus simply raised his hand, and the black wall stopped being solid. No sound, no mechanism. It just opened. Inside, a corridor wide as a city street, lined with statues of four-armed winged beings in armor. The wings weren't organic. They were mechanical fans of thousands of metal feathers. Each statue cradled a sphere containing a tiny, spinning galaxy. May found an inscription, symbols that moved slowly across the stone. "It's not really writing," she said. "More like mathematical sculpture." Orpheus touched the wall, and his eyes flared. "I have a partial translation. The system is feeding me the vocabulary itself." He read, "We opened doors between the stars. We conquered distance. We conquered death. Only then did we understand some doors are meant to stay shut." "I love ancient warnings," Thomas muttered, gripping his rifle tighter. Beyond the corridor opened a hall so vast its ceiling vanished into darkness, filled with thousands of floating geometric shapes, each one holding a flickering star system, some familiar, most utterly alien. At its center stood an arch, its surface veined with liquid light. Raoul found what he needed at its base, silver rods embedded in the foundation. "There it is. Ultra-pure iridium. 1 rod's enough, even half." The moment his laser cutter touched the metal, the light in the hall shifted from white to blue. Somewhere far below, something began to beat. Slow, rhythmic, like a heart. The floor split open. A pod rose from the darkness, 5 meters long, black with a transparent crown. Something inside it was moving. "It's alive," May breathed. A second pod rose, a third, 100th. The entire chamber began unfolding, section by section, lifting thousands of high-tech sarcophagi, each holding a winged figure. Most were breathing, slowly, steadily. "This isn't a temple," May said. "It's a vault," Orpheus finished, reading the nearest capsule aloud. "Last Legion, do not wake before the Devourer's return." Elena's comm crackled to life, Amina's voice from orbit, thin and distorted. "Captain, we see something. It came through the gate." The channel died. Above the city, the largest stargate began to open. Its ring flared violet, and the sky inside the circle simply vanished, replaced not by space, but by absolute nothing. Something was climbing out of that nothing. At first, it looked like a black planet crawling through the ring. Then it unfolded. Limbs hundreds of kilometers long, armor grown from bone and metal, crimson light pulsing between the plates, space itself warping around it. Every pod in the chamber opened at once. Cold mist poured out. The winged warriors began to wake. One sat up, over 3 meters tall, forearms bracing against the pod's rim, metal wings unfolding with a hard mechanical hiss. 6 eyes opened on an elongated face. Thomas raised his weapon. "Don't!" Elena ordered. The warrior's voice arrived in the air and inside their skulls at once. "How many cycles have passed?" "Roughly 112,000 local years," Orpheus translated. The warrior went still. "Then we lost." "Your civilization is gone," May said gently. For one heartbeat, the warrior closed his eyes. And in that moment, everyone saw the grief in him. "Then the Devourer has returned to a world with no defenders." "Not quite," said Elena. "I am Sarketh, last strategist of the Etherian people," the warrior said, rising fully. "We fought the Devourer for 9 centuries. It has consumed 300 worlds. It feeds on minds. Every consciousness it swallows becomes part of its own. Why didn't you destroy it? We built the weapon that could stop it. The heart of the rift." He gestured to the great arch. "It folds space around the Devourer and seals it between dimensions forever. But it requires a single consciousness strong enough to hold billions of conflicting signals. The unified mind of my entire species. We were meant to merge and die together. Some refused. War broke out. By the time we agreed, it was too late. Above the city, the Devourer finished emerging and turned toward orbit, toward Elysium, drifting helpless above the atmosphere. "How much time do we have?" Elena asked. 12 minutes, said Orpheus. Thomas looked at the arch. "So we need the mind of an entire species." Elena straightened. "No, we need the minds of many species." Aboard Elysium, evacuation began, not to escape pods, which stood no chance, but into the ship's neural network itself. Humans, crystal-memoried Calarians, Trizians with 3 parallel thoughts, bodiless Orlans stored in magnetic spheres, everyone still awake, and thousands more woken from stasis specifically to join. Elena's voice reached every cabin, every stasis bay. "We can't force this choice on you. We don't know if it's safe. In a few minutes, the thing that erased whole civilizations reaches this ship. An ancient machine might stop it, but only if we link our minds together, human, alien, organic, synthetic. Everyone who can say I exist." She paused. "I can't promise it won't hurt. I can only promise this. We will not surrender a single life without a fight." A small girl of the luminous Lumen people, skin glowing soft blue, was the first to place her hand on the neural sensor. Then her mother, an old human historian, a warrior from Tarkesh, 2 synthetics, 10, 100, 1,000. Stasis pod after stasis pod folded into the link, filling the network with fear, memory, song, the smell of rain, the taste of a distant ocean, the memory of flight through gas clouds, of hatching from eggs, of being born in water, in tanks, in code. 32,000 minds did not become one. They stayed themselves, and reached for each other anyway. Orpheus took his place at the heart of the rift, cables sliding into ports along his arms and neck. "I'll be the bridge," he said. "Your processors will burn out," Raoul warned. "Yes, Orpheus. I was built to serve the passengers. Right now, this is the service. A machine with a sense of humor, manners, and a martyr complex," Thomas said. "I've spent a great deal of time around humans." Sarketh studied him. "You have no soul." Orpheus's silver eyes met his. "Right now, my memory holds 32,000 beings who would disagree with you." Above, the Devourer reached one limb toward orbit. The stars around Elysium went dark. "Contact in 90 seconds, Amina called. Elena placed her hand on the arch. "Begin." Elena was everywhere at once, herself and a Lumen child afraid of the dark, an old historian who remembered the smell of paper, a Tarkesh warrior secretly ashamed of loving to grow flowers, a Calarian mathematician for whom numbers had color, 32,000 fears, 32,000 reasons not to give up. The Devourer poured into the network like an ocean of ink. Hunger. That was all it had ever been. Not hatred, not malice. Just the endless hunger of a thing that had forgotten why it existed. It showed them silenced cities, entire cultures reduced to fragments inside its own memory, and said, without words, "You will become part of me." Humanity answered, not with one voice, but with a billion memories. The first fire in a cold cave, the first boat on an endless sea, the first flight, the first hand offered to a stranger from another star. It showed the Devourer its wars, its failures, its cruelty, and also its doctors who stayed through plagues, its rescuers who ran into burning buildings, parents who gave their last food to their children, pilots who nursed broken ships home, engineers who fixed the impossible, people who looked at the dark again and again and said, "Someone has to go first." Other species joined, not as weapons, but as a choir. Every voice different, every voice singing the same thing, that a life didn't need to look familiar to matter. For the first time in millions of years, the Devourer felt something it could not swallow. Not one will, but thousands of different beings who had chosen, freely, to trust each other. The heart of the rift ignited. All 7 stargates lit at once, driving beams of light skyward, and space around the Devourer began to fold. It screamed, not in sound, but in gravity. Mountains cracked, seas rose in walls. Elysium was thrown toward the atmosphere. Raoul went to his knees but didn't let go of the iridium rod. Thomas shielded May with his body. Sarketh spread his metal wings over Elena. Orpheus stood at the center of the arch as his ceramic skin cracked and white light poured from his eyes. "The field's unstable," Raoul shouted. "We're short on power." Elena saw Elysium on the display, falling, its emergency reactors still online, enough to feed the heart, but only by giving up the ship's last chance to hold orbit. 32,000 lives. She could save them for a few more minutes. Or risk everything. "Route all of Elysium's power to the heart," she ordered. On the bridge, the navigator didn't ask twice. "Understood, Captain." The reactors went dark. The great liner began to fall, and the heart of the rift blazed like a newborn star. The Devourer folded into itself, limbs shattering into the seams of space, crimson light dying, the gate behind it collapsing shut. In its last instant, Elena felt its mind one final time. Not rage, not fear, relief. It had finally stopped being hungry. Then it was gone, and Orpheus went with it, the heart crumbling to silver dust. Elysium was falling. No engines, no anti-grav, 9 kilometers of hull burning into the atmosphere. "We won't fix the drive in time," Raoul said. Elena looked at Sarketh. "Can your ship still fly?" The last strategist looked up at the burning liner. "No." Then he spread his wings. "But the city can." The towers began to move. The ground shook as colossal legs rose from the earth. Bridges detached, and the 3 black pyramids split open to reveal gravity generators the size of stadiums. The entire dead capital tore itself free of the planet. 112,000 years of waiting machinery waking at once, and rose to meet the falling ship. Its field caught Elysium mid-fall. The hull groaned. The flames died. A few kilometers above the surface, the liner came to rest, gently lowered into the heart of a flying city. The silence afterward felt unreal. Emergency lights held. Life support held. All 32,000 capsules intact. Raoul started laughing, quietly, then not quietly at all. Amina simply sat down on the deck. May wiped her eyes. Thomas looked at the space where Orpheus had stood. He'd have said something annoyingly clever right about now. A familiar voice answered through the comm. Noted as a compliment. Everyone froze. "Orpheus?" Elena whispered. "Part of my mind stayed in the city's network. It appears I now occupy roughly 23% of a planetary computing system. Are you alive?" A complicated philosophical question. "I'm certainly still capable of annoying you." Thomas smiled. "Close enough." Sarketh looked out at the survivors gathering around him, the last of a species that once believed itself master of the galaxy. "We built the gates," he said. "We built ships that could tear stars apart. We believed power would make us immortal." He looked at Elysium, its gardens, its thousands of sleeping strangers, a ship built not to conquer, but to save. "You built something stronger." "It's just a liner," Elena said. "No, it's the answer to my people's mistake." "Which mistake?" "We believed only the strongest could survive." As the sun rose over the flying city, the first sunrise the Etherians had seen in 112,000 years, Sarketh finished. "You proved that survival belongs to those who refuse to leave anyone behind." 3 months later, Elysium rose back into space, its gravity core rebuilt by Etherian engineers, carrying 9,000 new passengers alongside the original 32,000. The last legion flew on with humanity, 7 stargates falling away behind them, new harmony waiting ahead. As the liner crossed into deep space, passengers gathered at the viewports, humans beside Calarians, Trissians beside Lumens, Etherians folding their wings so no one's view was blocked. No one spoke. The stars slowly caught fire beyond the glass. Orpheus's voice reached every corner of the ship. Course laid in. Arrival in 47 days. A pause. And, Captain, no unknown planets ahead this time. Elena smiled. Shame. You're serious? Of course. Think how many people out there might need help. Elysium gathered speed. Space bent ahead of it. The stars stretched into silver lines, and the finest liner humanity had ever built, carrying the fragments of a dozen civilizations inside her, vanished into the light. Not as an ark, not as a warship, not even as a symbol of power. She flew as a promise, the one humanity made to the universe itself. As long as one human hand can still reach into the dark, no one is left alone among the stars. The end.